Hey everyone, welcome to the Building a Financial Fortress podcast, helping you increase your financial knowledge. This is episode 10, recorded on March 26, 2022. This podcast is for entertainment only and is not investing advice. Do your own research. So this week, I will go through the normal weekly market overview. Give you some hot takes, although I will be honest, not much has changed since last week. Uh, and then we'll go into weekly Bitcoin news, quite a bit of news this week. So I think I have 4 articles to share. And then we'll finish up with a very simple walkthrough of Bitcoin self-custody, walk you through setting up a Ledger Nano S, which I just did recently. It's the second hardware wallet that I've set up. And also how to set up a Strike account on the Strike app and then buy Bitcoin there for no fee and then transfer that into your hardware wallet. So that'll be at the end. So, moving into the weekly update, and again, this is courtesy of Seeking Alpha. All three major stock market averages notched their second straight winning week, with energy topping Friday's sector leaderboard as crude oil advanced to nearly $120 per barrel, following drone attacks on a Saudi Arabian fuel depot. The sector helped the S&P 500 to a 0.5% gain on Friday and a 1.8% rise for the week, while the tech-heavy Nasdaq fell slightly on Friday, but led the major indexes for the week with a 2% rally, and the Dow Jones ticked up 0.3%. The stock market's rebound has come even as the war in Ukraine continues, with little sign of being resolved shortly, and with interest rates shooting higher as the Federal Reserve stays on track to raise rates throughout the year. Two-year Treasury yield surged 15 basis points, and the 10-year yield added 12 basis points on the week. And again, pretty much the same as last week. Very cautious about stocks and bonds, and still pretty bullish on hard assets, commodities, real estate, gold, silver, Bitcoin, and the like. So really not much of a change in my view. From what I've read, it's about split. You know, some people think the market's going to continue to take off here and rally, but a lot of folks I've been reading are saying hard to do with rising interest rates. And so unless the Fed stops raising rates and reverses course, which of course would be tremendously bullish for all risk assets, if they continue down the path, it's going to be tough sledding for the stock market and the bond market. And then if inflation continues to kick along as it has, pretty much the only thing that's going to do well in that environment are the hard assets. Okay, moving on to weekly Bitcoin news. So this was from CNBC, published on March 26. Exxon is mining Bitcoin in North Dakota as part of its plan to slash emissions. ExxonMobil, the top oil and gas producer in the U.S., is piloting a project to mine Bitcoin in North Dakota, according to people with knowledge of the matter. For over a year, Exxon has been working with Crusoe Energy Systems, a company based in Denver, said the people who asked not to be named because details of the project are confidential. Crusoe's technology helps oil companies turn wasted energy or flare gas into a useful resource. Similar to ConocoPhillips' mining scheme in North Dakota's Bakken region, Exxon is diverting natural gas that would otherwise be burned off into generators, which convert the gas into electricity used to power shipping containers full of thousands of Bitcoin miners. Exxon launched the pilot in late January 2021 and expanded its build-out in July. While Exxon hasn't talked publicly about its work in the space, Eric Obrock, a 10-year veteran at the company, said on his LinkedIn profile that from February 2019 to January 2022, he proposed and led the first successful commercial and technical demonstration of using Bitcoin proof-of-work mining as a viable alternative to natural gas flaring in the oil patch. Obrock's title on his profile is NGL Industry Outlook Advisor, referring to the natural gas liquids market. Obrock told CNBC through a LinkedIn message that he's been advised he can't speak to the media on this topic. Exxon didn't respond to a request for comment. Exxon's Bitcoin project isn't really about making money from the cryptocurrency. Rather, the company is pledged to reduce emissions as part of an industry-wide effort to meet higher environmental demands. In early March, Exxon joined other oil companies in committing to the World Bank's Zero Routine Flaring by 2030 initiative, introduced in 2015. The type of crypto mining arrangement it's pursuing with Crusoe reduces CO2 equivalent emissions by about 63% compared with continued flaring. Exxon's Bitcoin mining work in North Dakota was first reported by Bloomberg, which said the company was also considering similar pilots in Alaska, the Kwa Ibo terminal in Nigeria, Argentina's Vaca Muerta shale field, Guyana, and Germany. The problem Exxon and Conoco are addressing has existed for years. What happens when drillers accidentally hit a natural gas formation? Unlike oil, which can be trucked out to a remote destination, gas delivery requires a pipeline. If a drilling site is close to a pipeline, producers can sell it right away, but if the pipe is full or if the gas is 20 miles away, drillers often burn it off. That's why you typically see flames rising from oil fields. In addition to the environmental hazards, drillers are also burning cash. Enter Bitcoin mining, which only requires an internet connection and can be done from anywhere. And because miners' primary variable cost is energy, they're incentivized to find the cheapest sources of power. This is just a great way to bring the demand to the wasted energy and solve two problems at once, said Cully Kavnes, president of Crusoe, whose backers include Valor Equity Partners, one of Tesla's largest investors, solve the energy appetite of Bitcoin and solve the stranded energy flare gas problem for the energy industry. Kavnes said Crusoe has 150 employees and works with Norway's Equinor, ASA, Canadian oil producer Enerplus, and Devon Energy based in Oklahoma City. Permits from North Dakota's Division of Air Quality show Crusoe can run 20 portable engines, with 11 currently in use as well at well sites across the state. 2 of the engines are operational at wells run by XTO Energy, Exxon's oil and gas fracking subsidiary, at the Jorgensen Deep Crack site. Kavnes said most of Crusoe's 80-plus data centers are deployed in the Bakken. We're really moving the needle on flared volumes, Kavnes said. More than 10 million cubic feet of gas per day that would be flared is not flared because we've deployed our systems. The World Bank, in its most recent Global Gas Flaring Reduction Partnership report, recognized Crusoe as offering an innovative solution to flaring. The article goes on to talk about methane and some other things, but I think the important thing here is that this allows for Bitcoin mining. Bitcoin mining is key to securing the Bitcoin network because the miners are really ones that validate transactions on the network. And if they're successful in completing one, then they get awarded Bitcoin. So it's profitable to be a Bitcoin miner, especially at scale, if you have a lot of mining equipment. And it increases the hash rate of the network, which provides, again, more security, makes it harder to hack. And in this case, it actually helps the environment, which is a really positive thing. And that's one of the things that people bring up about the Bitcoin's energy consumption. But the beauty of the Bitcoin mining operation is it can be located very close to where the energy is produced, whether it's solar, wind, hydroelectric, and doesn't need to be in a where people are. That's one of the big problems with power is and a lot of times it's being generated far away and then has to be transmitted to where the people are. So it can Bitcoin can really help uh, uh, fund the development of alternative energy in that sense. So that was pretty big news. The next one is also from CNBC. This was published on March 24th. Russia is considering selling its oil and gas for Bitcoin as sanctions intensify from the West. Faced with stiffening sanctions from Western countries over its invasion of Ukraine, Russia is considering accepting Bitcoin as payment for its oil and gas exports. In a videotaped news conference held on Thursday, the chair of Russia's Duma Committee on Energy said in translated remarks that when it comes to friendly countries such as China or Turkey, Russia is willing to be more flexible with payment options. Chair Pavel Zavalny said that the national fiat currency of the buyer as well as Bitcoin were being considered as alternative ways to pay for Russia's energy exports. We have been proposing to China for a long time to switch to settlements in national currencies for rubles and yuan, Zavalny said in translated comments. With Turkey, it will be lira and rubles. He didn't stop with traditional currencies. You can also trade Bitcoins, he said. Bitcoin is up close to 4% over the last 24 hours to about $44,000. The price of the cryptocurrency spiked around the time that the news reports of Zavalny's remarks first crossed. The energy chair also doubled down on President Vladimir Putin's promise on Wednesday to require unfriendly countries to pay for gas in Russian rubles. That's important, by the way, because that would effectively force uh, countries to support the ruble, which has crashed as a result of all the sanctions that were placed on Russia due to their invasion of Ukraine. Putin's announcement sent European gas prices soaring over worries the move might aggravate an energy market already under pressure. If they want to buy, let them pay either in hard currency, and this is gold for us, or pay, as it is convenient for us, this is a national currency, Zavalny said, in comments that echoed the president's warning from the day before. Though the U.S. has banned imports of Russian oil as part of its response to Moscow's war in Ukraine, sources have told CNBC it's unlikely that the European Union will follow suit, given its heavy dependence on Russian energy, in part to heat homes during the winter months. Russia is clearly looking to diversify into other currencies, said Nick Carter, co-founder of Coinmetrics. He told CNBC that Russia has been preparing for that kind of transition since 2014, when it started to divest all U.S. treasuries. But the country wasn't fully prepared for foreign FX assets to be frozen, said Carter, who is also a founding partner of Castle Island Ventures, an early-stage firm focused on cryptocurrency. Russia now appears to be serious about moving away from the dollar. They have something the world needs, Carter said. Russia is the #1 exporter of natural gas globally. Russia could potentially convert energy reserves into hard assets that could be used outside the dollar system. Putin has changed his tune on Bitcoin. In 2021, the Russian leader told CNBC's Hadley Gamble that while he believed Bitcoin had value, he wasn't convinced it could replace the US dollar in settling oil trades. Now the Kremlin's top brass is weighing it as a form of payment for major exports. It's unclear, however, whether Bitcoin's relative lack of liquidity could support international trade transactions of that magnitude. So needless to say, that was pretty big news. And again, anything that increases the adoption of Bitcoin, whether friend or foe, is good for the overall network. And Bitcoin is truly a neutral asset. So that was big news. The next article here is from Bitcoin.com. Luna Foundation. So this is a stable coin that is using Bitcoin to back or support the value of the stable currency. So this is kind of a new thing because up to this point, none of the stable coins have really used Bitcoin to. They've used other assets like treasuries or cash or other liquid type of assets, but this is kind of a first. So Luna Foundation's Bitcoin Reserve Wallet now holds 1.1 billion in Bitcoin. During the last week, the cryptocurrency community has been discussing the Bitcoin purchases made by Luna Foundation Guard, LFG, as on-chain data shows LFG's Bitcoin wallet currently holds 24,954.95 Bitcoin worth $1.1 billion. LFG's Gnosis safe address shows over the last 4 days there's been 660.6 million tethers sent out of the foundation's wallet. Do Kwon confirms the Bitcoin wallet belongs to LFG. On March 26, 2022, the Luna Foundation Guard Bitcoin wallet holds 24,954.95 Bitcoin worth 1.1 billion. During the last 4 days, the address has accumulated a massive number of Bitcoin after Terra's founder Do Kwon recently hinted at the blockchain project leveraging Bitcoin-linked tokenomics. After someone asked Terra's founder why the project decided to choose Bitcoin for a reserve asset, Do Kwon replied, quote, Bitcoin is the only hard reserve asset that's been proven out of the digital currencies. It's very difficult for somebody in crypto to question Bitcoin. After the statement, the community noticed movement stemming from a Gnosis safe address that's reported owned by LFG. Additionally, the news publication Bitcoin Magazine tweeted about LFG's Bitcoin address and said the foundation confirmed the address and purchases to back its UST stablecoin. Following the statement on March 25th, the news publication further verified the tweet in an article that said Terraform Labs founder Do Kwon on Wednesday confirmed via email that the address indeed belongs to LFG. Since then, the LFG Bitcoin address continues to accumulate BTC as the last transaction shows it obtained 493 Bitcoin on March 26th. It holds 24,954.95 Bitcoin, worth 1.1 billion, and the address has never sent a single Satoshi out of the wallet. The Gnosis safe address has sent 4 USDT transactions worth around 125 million, and the last tether send was for 160.7 million tether. So that's pretty interesting news. Again, that's more Bitcoin adoption, and using Bitcoin as a treasury reserve asset to back stablecoin is a very interesting use case. And again, as long as the Bitcoin price remains relatively stable, and it's over collateralized, then that would certainly make the stablecoin that's backed by Bitcoin very strong, I would think. And finally, this also from Bitcoin.com, Janet Yellen admits crypto has benefits, says Treasury working on crypto regulation. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen talked about cryptocurrency in an interview with CNBC Friday. She was asked about cryptocurrency given that Russia has said it is considering accepting Bitcoin as payment for energy resources. Yellen replied, quote, crypto has obviously grown by leaps and bounds, and it's now playing a significant role, not really so much in transactions, but in investment decisions of lots of Americans. She proceeded to explain that President Joe Biden's executive order tasked the Treasury Department and other federal agencies with thinking about the regulation of crypto. When asked about whether she's still skeptical about crypto, the Treasury Secretary commented, I have a little bit of skepticism because I think there are valid concerns around it. Some have to do with financial stability, consumer investor protection, use for illicit transactions, and other things, she added. She added, quote, on the other hand, there are benefits from crypto, and we recognize that the innovation in the payment system can be a healthy thing. We would like to come out eventually with recommendations that will create a regulatory environment for healthy innovation, she opined. Earlier this month, Yellen revealed that Treasury will monitor crypto to see whether it is being used to evade sanctions by Russian individuals and entities. We will continue to look at how the sanctions work and evaluate whether or not there are leakages, and we have the possibility to address them, she said. However, a senior official with the department subsequently said that the Treasury does not see that crypto could be used in a large-scale way to evade sanctions. And again, that's primarily because of the open nature of the blockchain. It's very hard to hide transactions on there. And in many ways, it's actually easier for law enforcement to follow transactions through the blockchain, whether it's Bitcoin or any of the other coins. So uh, that's relatively positive news as well. So again, that's kind of the wrap on the weekly Bitcoin news. And moving on, so we'll do a quick walkthrough of Bitcoin self-custody. Um, so the first step is really to get a hardware wallet. And I went on Amazon and found the cheapest on there is a Ledger Nano S. I think it was $59 on Amazon Prime, so not a huge investment. Uh, came in 2 days. And it's relatively simple and easy to set up. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the second hardware wallet that I've set up. First one was a Trezor, and this one was actually pretty easy to do. So I'm going to walk through the steps, and then after that, I'll walk through the steps of setting up um, a Strike account. With the Strike app. You can buy Bitcoin on Strike for no fee, which is a good thing. And then it's pretty easy to transfer the coins from the app into your hardware wallet. So um, first thing you'll do is you'll get the box and open it, and inside you'll have the ledger itself, which looks like a little USB drive, and it comes with a little cable. You do need a computer um, that you'll plug in the device into the one end of the cable, and then you plug in the USB side into a USB port in your computer. And then there's an app you have to download called Ledger Live. Um, and then once you've done that, you may have to update the firmware in the Ledger device, so it'll kind of walk you through that step by step. Um, Once you do that, then you should be ready to set up. So you connect the Ledger to your computer using that USB cable. You should see on the device it'll say "Welcome to Ledger Nano S." If it does ask you immediately for a PIN code, then you should probably not use the device, and you probably need to return it and get a different one. So it should not do that. There's a little left button and a right button that you use to navigate the on-screen instructions, and then by pressing both buttons at the same time, you make your selection. So you scroll through, and then when you see the option set up as a new device, you click both buttons at the same time, and then it'll take you to the next step. So you have to choose your PIN code next. So you click on or you select choose PIN code. When that's displayed, press both buttons. And then you press the right or the left button to choose the first digit. And then you press both buttons to enter a digit. And then you repeat that process until you've entered 4 to 8 digits. So I think 4 is the minimum, 8's the maximum. And it should be something relatively easy for you to remember, because that's what you're going to use when you need to access the device. And then if you forget and then you get locked out, then the only alternative is to use your seed phrase to get back into it. So you definitely want to use your remember your PIN code. And then you select the check mark. which is kind of at the very end, and you press both buttons to confirm the PIN code. And then if you need to erase something, you use the backspace icon. Then what it's going to do is it's going to ask you to confirm your PIN code, so you enter it once more, and then you should be good to go. They do have some security tips. Make sure you choose your own PIN code, since that's what's going to be used to unlock your device. 8 digits is considered optimal level of security. And again, never use a device supplied with a PIN code or a recovery phrase. Okay, so then the next step is to generate and write down your recovery phrase. So it's 24 words. So your 24-word phrase will be displayed word by word on the Ledger Nano S screen. And this phrase is the only backup of your private keys, and it'll only be displayed once. So you have to be really careful in going through this. So there'll be some blank recovery sheets that are supplied in the box. So take one of those out, and you'll see there's 24 numbers and with blanks to write in the words. So you start with the first word. So it'll show the first word. You write it down on the recovery sheet, and then verify that you've captured it correctly, because the order matters. So the first word has to be in the first spot, and the second, and so on and so forth. So then you press the right button to move to the second word, which is word 2. You write that in position 2 on the recovery sheet, verify that you copied it correctly, and then you repeat the process until you get to the 24th word. And the device will generate these words, and only that device will generate those words, and there's nowhere else is going to know what those are. It's not connected to the company or anything like that. The device just generates those words randomly. So then the next step will be, once you've entered all the words and you've written them all down, you press both buttons to confirm your recovery phrase. Then what it's going to do is it's going to ask you for certain words. So like it'll ask you for the 4th word or the 3rd or the 2nd or whatever. And so you just have to scroll through until you find the word with the left or the right button, and then validate that word by pressing both buttons. And you just need to repeat that step for each of the requested words. And then your device will display processing, and then it'll say your device is now ready. And that's when you've completed the setup process. And you can press both buttons to access the dashboard, and then the dashboard is where you can access apps and settings on your device. So again, some security tips. Anyone with access to your recovery phrase could take your assets, so make sure you store that securely. I would keep it in a home safe or fireproof safe, somewhere like that. Note that Ledger does not keep a backup of your 24 words, so once it's gone, it's gone. Sometimes you might even want to make 2 copies, and keep it in 2 different places, just in case you lose one copy. And that's pretty much it. And then once you're inside the app, you do have the ability to do several things. You can transfer coins in, you can transfer coins out, check your balance, so on and so forth. So now that you have the wallet set up, the next step is to buy some Bitcoin, and then transfer it into the hardware wallet. So now I've used Coinbase, I've used Crypto.com, I've used other. Those are the main ones that I've used to buy Bitcoin. But Strike is unique in that it's a A Bitcoin and payment app. It facilitates global payments at zero cost and also zero commission or zero fee Bitcoin purchases. So, for example, Coinbase charges about 1.5%. Um, so, you can get a lot more Bitcoin with each purchase if you don't have to pay a fee. And I did check the pricing, and the pricing is, spot on between what Strike shows and what Coinbase shows. So it's not like there's a huge spread between the market pricing or anything like that. So, and most folks in the Bitcoin space recommend that's where you buy it, especially if you're going to dollar cost average. And I'll talk a little bit about that later because they have some interesting features. So first you download Strike app on your phone. You go to the far right icon and click on it. It's like a little person. You click on that, and then you have to add a payment method. So I'd recommend just adding your checking account, and it'll walk you through some steps to validate and set up your account. Um, you'll also notice on that screen that you can direct deposit all or a portion of your paycheck into Strike. So if you want to pay yourself in Bitcoin, you can do a direct deposit and then set up a recurring purchase. Um, then the next step, once you have your account set up, is to click deposit on that same screen, and you'll see that the maximum is $1,000 for a bank deposit. There's no fee, and that'll come straight out of your bank account. Then after you have money in your account, then you go to the second icon from the right. It's like a little Bitcoin symbol, and you click on that, and then you can hit buy, and you can either buy one time, or you can set up a recurring purchase, and you can do it hourly, daily, weekly, or monthly. So, and I've seen people do all of those. So whatever floats your boat. But let's say you just want to buy $100. So you buy $100, complete your purchase, you will have the Bitcoin in your Strike wallet. So then on that same screen, if you click on the arrow icon in the upper left corner, um, it'll open up a little screen to scan a QR code. So then if you open up your Ledger Live app, which is the app that goes along with the Ledger Nano, and you have to be logged in to your Ledger hardware wallet to be able to access the send feature. But you'll see in a menu over to the left, send and receive. So you click on receive, and then you can click on the QR code, and then what I usually like to do is the device will show the Bitcoin address that you're going to be receiving it to, and then you just want to make sure it matches what's on the screen. It should, and then you can just simply hold the Strike app or your phone over that QR code, and it'll capture it in the Strike app, and then you just hit send, and then you wait a couple minutes, and then you should see it register on the hardware wallet in the app. But it may take up to 10 minutes for it to get a confirmation. And once you get a confirmation, then you know, okay, it's good. They'll typically could be hundreds, if not thousands, of confirmations after that, but you do need the first confirmation just to make sure that it actually went through. Um, Now, I send these all the time now, and I don't worry about it, but for your first time, it's probably a good idea to make sure that you maybe you send a small amount. I mean, the fees are kind of expensive, but if you're nervous, maybe send $10 or $25 to your hardware wallet to start with, just so you're comfortable that it works. And then once you've done that, then you can send the normal amount, um, or the full amount, or however you want to do it. If you're good at dollar cost average, it's probably good to periodically move it onto your hardware wallet, and maybe you do that once a month. So maybe you do daily or weekly buys, and then at the end of the month, you move everything over to your hardware wallet. That's probably a best practice. Um, and other than that, um, that's it's pretty much that's it. So it's not super complicated, um, and it doesn't have to be a huge expense either. Whatever you can afford in terms of buying Bitcoin every month or every week, you can budget for it, and buying the hardware wallet's not that expensive, and the Strike app is basically free. So, thank you for listening to the Building a Financial Fortress podcast, helping you increase your financial knowledge. If you're interested, you can follow my blog at fi-q.blogspot.com. And also, I'm on Twitter at Nick Reichert, NickReichert. I'm pretty active there, maybe a little too active sometimes. Um, and hopefully you enjoyed the show. And if you have any comments, suggestions, please leave them, and likes. Really appreciate that. And share with a friend. And I will talk to you next week. Bye bye.